So thank you for joining us this evening for the April 5th, 2023 Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist the commissioners, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. For tonight's meeting, Zoom is being used to allow public participation with this Site and Architectural Meeting. For those using Zoom to participate, there are two icons, chat and raise hands. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a commissioner speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the chair and enabled to speak to the commission. Only attendees using Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from the telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide feedback or public comment. Lastly, when we're not all in the same room, all votes at this meeting must be taken by roll call.
I'd like to call to order the April 5th, 2023 meeting of the Site and Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission. City Planner Perkins, would you like to call roll, please?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Subramania,
Present.
Commissioner Conley,
Here.
Commissioner Srivastava, Commissioner White,
Present.
Chair Zeigler.
Present, thank you. Okay, and now we'll move on to the orders of the day. First, we have a chance for members of the public to speak to anything not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Please let us know if you have any comment by raising your hand or virtual hand. Do we have anyone on the line? There's no one here in chambers.
No.
Okay, and did we receive any oral, any written communications in advance of the meeting?
We did not.
Okay. I'll close that then and move on to approving the minutes or discussing the minutes from the February 1st, 2023 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Great. May we please proceed with a roll call vote?
Commissioner Subramania,
Approve.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yeah.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
and Chair Zeigler.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to the public hearing part of the meeting. And we're discussing, well, would you like to tee that up?
Yes, thank you. So the ordinance before you tonight is intended to clean up some minor issues that have been identified by staff in the zoning code. The proposed changes are intended to improve the clarity of regulations, to streamline the regulations, and to correct errors that create difficulties for customers and staff. The first item is regarding the fence regulations that were adopted in May of 2021. A fence design permit was created at that time that allows a fence of up to 8 feet high for properties that meet certain criteria. The ordinance adopted at that time specified that these regulations apply to a rear yard fence and an interior side fence, but did not include a side corner fence of a corner lot. Based on discussion and community input at the time this ordinance was adopted, the intent was to provide for the additional screening available within for an 8-foot fence to the side corner lots also. So staff does recommend clarifying this section to include the side corner lots as available for a fence design permit. The second item is regarding the size of accessory dwelling units in the R144 zoning district. And currently, that zoning district allows an ADU of up to 1,200 feet when it provides more than 1 bedroom. However, the current ordinance does not specify the maximum size allowed for a studio or a 1-bedroom ADU in that zoning district. So staff recommends modifying this section to clarify that the 1,200 square foot ADU is allowed regardless of the bedroom count in the R144 zoning district. Next is the site development permit submittal requirements. The municipal code currently details all of the application submittal requirements that are required for a site development permit. However, these are generally administrative items and can change over time with new requirements or new technology. So staff recommends removing these specific requirements from the municipal code and just refer to the handouts that are provided on the website that staff maintains in order to communicate the application submittal requirements to customers. Another change that is recommended is to remove the requirement that findings by the Site and Architectural Commission or the City Council for a site development permit be actually mailed to the project applicant. We recommend that the municipal code be changed to specify that these findings, written findings, will be provided to the applicant, but allow them to be provided through email and not physically mailing the documents, which we currently do. In addition to, or related to that item, is currently when the Site and Architectural Commission makes a decision on a site development permit, there is an appeal period of 10 days that a property owner, an applicant or a neighboring property owner can appeal the decision. Currently, that 10-day period begins when staff mails the written findings of the commission. And so that creates some uncertainty to neighboring property owners about when the actual appeal period is. So we do recommend specifying that the appeal period is 15 days after the decision is made, rather than based on when staff mails a document. And lastly, the municipal code includes a section on building site approvals. We recommend that this section be repealed, as it was a review process that was established before the current site development permit process, which has superseded the building site approval. However, this code section was never removed from the code. And that completes the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm thinking maybe it seems like there are 7 different aspects that we're looking to change. So I think the easiest way might be to go through one at a time. And normally we would, intermittently ask for public comment. If we don't have anyone on the line and we don't have anyone in chambers, let's just call for public comment at the end if anyone's joined.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, no one's here to comment right now. So let's start with fence height. Does anyone have any questions about that change?
I just wanted to understand the side, so we are talking about the corner lot and the side fence of that corner lot can be 18 feet, right? That's what we are saying. So if there's a road here, there's a road here, the road in front still has lower limits, but only on this, okay.
That's correct.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so the fence height allowed in the front yard is 3 feet, and that would run.
Anyone have any other questions or hesitations about the fence height change?
Looks like just tightening the loophole, that's it. Straightforward.
Okay, let's move on to the next. The next is the accessory dwelling unit size. I have a question / comment on that. On the tables, it says ADU size limitation. I think it might be helpful to say minimum or maximum. It was a little confusing to me. Because most ended up being about that square footage, and I'm not actually sure if it's a minimum or a maximum.
Thank you, we will incorporate that.
Does anyone else on the commission have questions about that? Yes.
Just a comment. I talked with Diana when I was signing up for the job, suggesting that the 1,200-foot ADU seems small to me, because for a lot of people who might be moving out of the house to the ADU, they're not going to do it. They're not going to build these 1,200 footers. They're going to, and I thought that maybe we, at some point in time, we should consider a larger ADU of maybe 1,600 feet. I think it would provide a lot more momentum for meeting the goals that we've established relative to the long-term housing site improvement in Monte Sereno. 200 may not get anyone's attention.
From my understanding, R144, is that a half acre?
I'm sorry, that is a 1 acre.
1 acre, full acre, okay, yeah, thanks for your point. So this 1,200 square feet doesn't include any basement that they would construct, right? If the accessory dwelling unit had a basement, that won't count under the 1,200, right?
It would for an accessory structure. Only the basement of the main house is not included in the overall square footage.
Okay.
Are porches included in the square footage count?
No,
As for anything to do with the roof, the overhangs?
the overhangs would not be included. But if there is a garage attached, an enclosed garage, that would be included in the square footage limits.
Oh. Then I'm gonna go back to my first statement that becomes more important.
So where is the size limit coming from? Is it coming from, the state or something that we came up with, or is there a mandate for this?
There is not a maximum mandate in the state law, that's provided for ADUs. There are just minimums. And currently, the state law requires a minimum of 850 square foot for an ADU, or 1,000 square feet when the ADU has more than one bedroom. So those are the minimum standards that we to allow, but there is no state law that provides a maximum.
So is this table providing a minimum or a maximum?
Maximum.
So the state provides the minimum and we provide the maximum, and they're really not that different. It's almost like the target number.
Sorry, I'm.
And that's the state law is the minimum that we have to allow. So of course, somebody can construct something of a lesser size.
So we are imposing a maximum, but we're not allowed to impose a lower maximum than what we currently have.
We are using this.
Correct, except
Okay, you're saying
for,
minimum, you're saying, okay, this is the maximum.
except for in the R144 zone, we do allow 1,200.
Instead of
And the state is
850.
1,000.
Right. Okay.
So remind me again, so the change we're making here is to clarify with respect to the acre lots.
Correct, currently the size limitation, which is the maximum size, reads, for the R144 zoning district, reads 1,200 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit that provides more than one bedroom. So it doesn't really specify if you do only provide one bedroom. What's the size? So we're proposing to just eliminate the reference to the one bedroom and allow 1,200 for an ADU of any.
So if you want a large studio, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments about that change?
So the one clarification, what are these size, R18, what are the size of those lots? R1?
That is an 8,000 square foot lot, and the R120 is half an acre, which is 21,180, I think.
Okay, well. Okay.
Okay. And then as to Commissioner Connolly's comment, that would probably be something to address the city council.
We can include this comment in the report that when this item goes to the city council. Okay.
Great.
All right, so moving on to site development permits submittal requirements.
So just going back to the
Oh, I'm
previous
sorry.
item. So what did we decide? It's, we need to conclude anything in this meeting, or we are just providing our.
Or does anybody have any objection to recommending that the city council entertain the amendment allowing for R144 to be up to 1,200 square feet regardless of the number of bedrooms?
Yeah, so there's seven different changes, but it was submitted as one agenda item. So I thought we could kind of go through all seven, and at the end, make a motion to recommend city council approve the ordinance as submitted or with the changes we recommend. So I thought we just.
No, I understand that. I was just saying, what is, I wasn't sure what we decided either. for this particular change.
Oh, what I'm hearing, but interject if I'm wrong, is that we have no objection to allowing the 1,200 on an R144 regardless of the number of bedrooms.
And would encourage the city council to even consider a larger.
Okay,
Comment.
That's everybody on the same page with that?
yes, okay, great, okay.
Okay. And so then the site development permit submittal requirements. Does anyone have any questions about that?
No.
So, my understanding is it's basically making it less specific because how you effectively get the application submitted changes over time with technology and programs and such.
Correct, and one example is by the end of this year, we are shooting to go for electronic submittals for building and planning applications. And the municipal code requires currently a certain number of plan sets in a certain plan sets office.
Does anyone have any question or hesitation about that change? Next is the Site and Architectural Commission findings for site development permits. Basically, rather than requiring hard copies be mailed, dropping that requirement and just doing it by email.
Correct, I think,
Because right now you also email it.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, and then we mail it out usually Thursday morning after the commission meetings. We do mail that information.
What do the commissioners think about that?
Okay.
I have a question, and I know this is gonna sound, funny, but, does anybody not have an email address? I mean, does that ever occur?
Not that I've come across in our
Okay, I
applications.
All right, I mean, I worry,
Certainly, we could at the request.
that would be
of
my
the
only
applicant.
concern in recommending this, is that for that applicant that doesn't have an email address, so there are such people as well.
Everyone wants an email address these days.
I support your point. I think we could give them an option, like, are you okay with them? Like, do you want a hard copy email, mail to you, or is by default, we will email it to you, but do you also want a hard copy?
Yeah, or change the language of the statute to be permissive, that it could be delivered by email, but in that instance, that the applicant doesn't have an email address.
Yes,
We'll
in
go
the
back
absence
to-
of.
What we call
Good point.
old school email.
Yeah, have a plan B here and. Yeah. I think it's also like a logistics issue for us to make sure that, we got the email right. What do we do now if it bounced back? How do we communicate? There is this whole failover situation that we may need to deal with. Let's say they gave an email and for some reason between that time and the time we emailed, there was some breach and the person's email was hacked and cannot send it out. Responses are bouncing back, right? So I think in case a person wants an email, like an email response, maybe we should also ask for an alternate email in case the response is back or something, have a plan.
I don't,
Or,
those
Yeah.
are all good points, and I almost wonder if administratively it might be more burdensome to track down the emails and think of all those possibilities rather than just mailing the one or two sheets of paper in the mail.
We're trying to simplify.
That's what I'm
Instead of overcomplicating it, right?
Well, I know there's a presumption under the law that once something is dropped in the mail, it is received within a number of days under the code of civil procedure. I don't know if that's true with respect to email.
yeah.
And so-
Receipt is subjective. I didn't get it.
Yeah, so
It
my
went to
only,
my junk folder.
yeah, my reservation is not so much the person that doesn't have email, but my reservation is the concern that you articulated. That it gets lost, spam, whatever the case may be. And so I guess I just would want I would encourage the city council to verify with Sergio whether there is a similar presumption in relationship to email, that which is sent is actually received within some period of time. And if so, then I'm comfortable with the changes. If not, then I would encourage us to perhaps consider sticking with mail.
this is outside the scope of this meeting, but technologically, right, once someone sends an email, it is guaranteed to be received. So, just that, the mail could go to a different folder. It could go to a spam folder, or,
Correct,
Right, it's received, but where it's
technology.
delivered, so to speak,
yeah.
within, it could be somewhere else. Okay. Good to know.
Most things with real estate are done in writing. I don't think email suffices for most things with real estate, right?
Legally.
Depends on what your contract says. Facsimiles and all that stuff is now being written into things related to the counterpart facsimiles, delivery.
Yeah, when a contract signing counterparts.
And digital signatures are relatively common.
Yeah.
I guess I would just encourage the city council to get some direction from Sergio, or maybe in advance of the meeting, as to whether or not there is a presumption that something that which is sent by email is actually received, as there is under the code of civil procedure for snail mail.
But it can't be received if there's no email address.
True, but there's also things that you put in the mailbox that don't actually physically arrive at the address, yet the presumption of the laws, it was received.
Yeah.
And I guess I would just want to ensure that we're not, that we, the city, in this instance, is not going to be faulted for not having delivered something simply because it wasn't received by somebody's inbox.
I definitely see a red flag here, I'll be honest, like, for people who are not in my contacts, my setting is such that just send it to junk. Right, so, and there have been instances where, somebody said they sent an email and I was literally looking at the junk folder. So I think that there is a liability here saying, I did not receive my permit, my construction is held up, I have this, my resources are stuck, I've wasted 3 weeks in, holding up the contractor payments, and so we could just run into some liability here. If the person says, yeah, I did not receive it, and we have no way to prove that they received it, we can prove that we sent it, right?
And all they can do is whine.
They could, but, yeah.
And if I could add, generally by the time the Site and Architectural Commission makes a decision on an application, staff has emailed with the applicant multiple times during the review process.
Okay. So it's very
And
nice.
it's, these findings that are mailed to them are informational documents. The decision of the commission is that you make that decision. So it's not that the decision is invalid.
And 90% of the time, the applicant is present at the meeting and knows what the finding, or what the ruling of the commission was.
That's a good,
That's true.
yes, that's a good thing.
Anyway, something to look at,
Think
but
about, yeah.
otherwise I don't have concerns with that. And the rest of the appeals.
So, and then there's the next item is the permit appeals for when Site and Architecture makes a finding or a decision if a neighbor within 300 feet objects or the property owner. So either, well, the property owner can have the property within 300 feet. That objection currently, the time period runs from when the notice is mailed. But we want to change it to when the decision is made.
Correct. Currently, with the requirement to mail the notice, there is no requirement of how quickly that needs to happen after the meeting. So if staff were to not be able to do it timely, the decision under the current requirements, the appeal period would be extended. And then the other concern with this is that it would not be clear to particularly neighboring property owners who may want to appeal what that time frame is. Because it's based on currently when we have a document which isn't publicly advertised when we mail it. So to just set a specific 10-day from the date of the decision.
What do commissioners think about that, Jane?
I think that clears it up significantly. I think that it makes it more confusing.
Right,
Yeah. Another
It's
perspective.
it's tangential to this, but the 300 feet in an arc in 1 acre zoning where you gotta send out the notice, it's not enough distance. Two houses from me, got some stuff done and I'm more than 300 feet apart, I guess. But in a neighborhood where it's 8,000 foot lots or 6,000 foot lots, it's easy. You get practically the next 5 houses, but the airport and the acre sites, a little more complex. I just thought I'd point that out.
Good
So
point.
the-
So how would you change it? What would you recommend? Like, would you say like, 5 houses down or
600 feet.
double it?
And so you can get your neighborhood involved.
Maybe more.
Hmm?
Maybe more.
Maybe more, 600 feet is not gonna.
Because a lot of these lots, an acre generally is 200 by 200.
Correct.
You know, more or less.
Correct.
Um,
3 houses down, yeah.
So if that's maybe
Yeah.
wouldn't get to the third house. And I just think that
Something to consider.
Agree. Yeah, good point.
So this 300 feet for objecting to the decision of the Site and Architecture Commission, is it the same 300 foot radius for notifying that something's coming before the Site and Architectural Commission, or is that a broader?
Currently, they're both 300 feet.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's the same.
I think Mr. Conley raises a really good point. When we used to live in Saratoga, and we would get notices when someone was taking down a tree or getting something approved. And it was a half block radius, or it might be interesting to see what Saratoga's code says, because it always was a neighbor that I felt was close to me. Unless someone has a set suggestion for the number of feet.
But that's not before us tonight.
It's not.
It's a suggestion.
it's tangential.
Orthogonal topic, I think we are just discussing the number of days, but I think you bring up a valid point which consider.
So we'll have a couple of consideration items beyond making a recommendation on the ordinance. Okay. And then we have site development permit city council findings. So that's kind of similar to the mailing out the decisions on the site and architectural meetings, but it's with respect to city council.
Correct, they're listed in 2 different sections of the municipal code. The
Okay,
same requirement, so that's why it's listed twice in the report.
do people have similar thoughts on this one as they did on the other in different considerations?
No new consideration.
So the findings are not necessarily a decision that is, like, I can understand the previous one, right? The development permit, was it granted, not granted, and we are discussing it in the council, right? This is, the findings are more of an offline procedure, if I'm to understand, like, is this something that is being discussed in a forum and the person is present there?
It would be for the Site and Architectural Commission, it is the, memorandum. I forgot what I said, memo of decision, memorandum of decision that's attached to the staff report. So that's attached to the staff report as a draft. And then if the commission approves it or the city council approves it, as recommended, then we just take the draft notation off. If there's any changes to the recommendation, we update that document, and that is the final notification of the decision and the findings to the conditions.
For those conditions to be binding on the applicant, we definitely need to look into what the real estate law requires for notification. Because you don't want them to say, oh, I didn't get the email. I went with what you guys told me initially.
Yeah, there's like, what, 20 or so little notes at the end of the memorandum of decision ordinarily, that we want to make sure they get copies of.
Mhm. I personally would lean toward just mailing it to them, on that one, but Is it reams of paper or what's the reason for the change? Is it quite burdensome to mail these things?
We do usually mail them and email them because applicants do want them in an electronic format, because we require them to also include that on a plan sheet as part of their plans for their building permit application. So they do need them electronically for that purpose. So it's just a duplicate tempered. And much of the time I get a question about what was this mailed to me for?
Oh, really? How many pages are they?
It's the memorandum of decision, which is usually 5 pages maybe, and then a cover letter that goes with it to explain what it is.
So you probably get a house that's different from what you're emailing, right?
Mhm.
That's understandable.
So when city council or when you, Diana, asked Sergio if there is any legal requirement that they be mailed, if he says no, there is no legal requirement, then are we comfortable going with email on these two separate items?
I would say yes. I don't think email presents a problem, so I think, the case, that Charlie talked about might be a corner case, corner case, so I can email send, it goes to spam, but given that you've already been having a discussion with them, right? So I think email is fine.
My perspective is just that maybe we can give them a choice. At the start of the process, just have that, my preferred email, do you want mailed copies as well as email, only email, just give them a choice. And I don't know if that adds a logistic step, but I wouldn't take the choice away from the person.
Yeah, I'm principally focused on the legal effect of email. If delivery of the email is sufficient under the law to provide notice to the applicant, then I'm happy with that being the sole means by which we accomplish that.
Shall we move on to building site approval?
Sure.
Okay. Can you mention that again, so I'm not the one summarizing it, because you'll do a better job?
No problem at all. This is a review process for developments on a property that was established before our current site development permits. And the site development permit has superseded this process. But the building site approval section was never removed from the code. So it's not currently used, but it is still in the code.
So it's purely a cleanup item.
Correct.
Anyone have any concerns with that?
No.
Okay. That's everything. This CEQA item just relates to, this is not an additional item for CEQA.
That's correct.
Right, okay. Okay, has anyone joined the call? Do we have any public comment? No. Okay, so then we will get to the matter of making a motion for a recommendation. And that's a little tricky.
Well, I'm gonna move that we recommend that the proposed ordinance as presented to us with our comments to the city planner be delivered to the city council for their consideration and adoption.
I'll second that.
Okay, a nice simple way to do it. You already memorialized the comments, okay?
Is that adequate for you, Diana?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's proceed with the vote.
Commissioner Balasubramanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes,
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yeah.
Chair Zeigler.
Yes. Thank you. Is there anything else on the agenda? No?
Nothing else on the agenda.
Okay. So there's nothing else. I adjourn the April 5th, 2023 meeting of the Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission. At whatever time it is now,
7:40.
7:40.
Well done.
We're here.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think it's in the order, we found the